is your message to New Orleans and the state of Louisiana today?
Well, obviously it's, it's prayers, it's safety, it's all the things that we want for our neighbors, our residents. The first is, paying attention closely to the state and local authorities. We've seen a lot of the news. We've seen a lot of the reports from there. It's the day after now, and obviously there's a lot more light on the city. I mean, literally, where we can, those people that are there to help can begin to assess what kind of condition neighborhoods are in. And, the message that I've heard on a number of occasions now in the last, call it 12 hours, has been, stay put in shelter until they're ready to come and communicate further. It sounds like, obviously, we're without power, and I'm sure there are a lot of pretty dangerous areas relative to electric lines, gas, etc. So we've seen it all from just 7 hours away here in Dallas.
Any damage to the
Have you heard
training
if there's
facility,
any
Coach?
damage to the practice facility or the Superdome?
Not that I'm aware of. We've got a handful of people that are back at the facility that feel like, at least the initial report is, it handled it overall pretty well. I'm not as flued into the Superdome.
Sean, how
difficult
is it to focus on football?
Or is that fluid right now?
Yeah, I would say this. I think, when we made the decision to find a place to practice, we looked at a number of places. We've been to Indy before. We've been to Oxnard, Greenbrier. I mean, there's a number of places that we've been to. This seemed fairly quick and made a lot of sense. I think the initial plan is through Wednesday, and then we're going through a ton of contingency plans. I think from a timing standpoint, we do have that extra week, which is helpful in light of everything else that's going on. We have roster decisions we're going to be making here in the next 24 hours. That's going to impact a lot of players and their families. And so I think the safety of everyone involved in being able to get to a location ahead of the storm and ahead of landfall was critical for us. And then at that point, today, tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll have practices and then kind of assess from there.
Sean, how difficult is it to focus on football, and how do you balance, your duties as a head football coach, preparing your team, and also recognizing the human element with your players and coaches' lives being even?
Yep. It's a great question. And listen, I think, you try to communicate, you be open. This would be obviously a lot more challenging or difficult if families were split up. And I'm sure to some degree some are, but nonetheless, being able to include them in our travel plans and bring them with us. I think left behind are obviously apartments, condominiums, homes. Those are all physical things. Nonetheless, they're still home for so many people. So I think that the communication is important. We had a team meeting this morning, kind of hit on some topics. And then, I think to some degree that going out and being able to practice today is going to be good for everyone. Because from afar, there's only so much you can do. And, we get updated, making myself here, get updates, daily. And then, we try and communicate that to our players.
Hey, Sean, is your family doing okay, or are there still people you're waiting to hear from?
No, they're good. my daughter was scheduled to do the sideline for Fox, but she began her new job this week. She's in training, and it just so happens she's here in Dallas in a different location. But and my son is in school. So look, that's all relatively good. My wife is evacuated. We were all able to get out well before Ida hit.
Have any players sustained any damage to their homes that they've been able to tell so far?
Man, that's a great question. I think every one of us is kind of like, man, we'd love a picture of what it looks like outside of our home or apartment. I'm sure there's going to be damage to roofs, damage to windows and the external portions of homes. I mean, I think a lot of it will be dependent on where they live and the type of structure they live in. All of that, can get taken care of in time with insurance. And but most importantly, it was getting to a safe spot. I'm unaware, though, of any type of specific damage to each player's home.
Sean, have you guys made any changes to how you would have treated this week as far as which days you're practicing, when you're going to make player cuts?
I think the only change we made initially, I think we had Sunday listed as a practice C schedule, Monday players off. We just flipped that. We traveled Saturday, got in Saturday evening. Sunday was changed to players' day off. We'll practice today, Monday. We'll practice tomorrow, Tuesday, and we'll practice Wednesday, and then kind of assess from there.
Hey, Coach, would
you normally not practice Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday anyway?
Yeah, look, my plan was, first off, the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement required X number of days off. So my plan was to give them some time. This is well prior to this. The initial calendar was going to be to break and then back to work on Monday for a bonus day. So we're going to kind of stick with a similar schedule. Obviously, it'll be important time for everyone to kind of assess where they're at. And look, there's a good chance when we start up Monday, talking about a week from today, there's a good chance that's going to be somewhere other than Metairie.
Hey, Coach, this is Ariel Valencia. I work for the ABC affiliate here in Dallas and appreciate your time today. You've got a handful of players who went to schools here in Texas. Just curious if any of them have kind of stepped up during these difficult times and you've seen some leaders emerge.
Yeah, I think, look, the first thing is the Cowboy family and Stephen and Jerry Jones and all of them. I know they're not, we looked at the schedule relative to stadium use and we're able to find a hotel here. And then, of course, we do have a number of players. When you relocate somewhere, there's a good chance that depending on where you go, there's a handful of players that are from that area. And then this is certainly one of those places. So I think on their day off, a number of these guys were able to go see their families here, maybe bring some teammates with them. I think it just varied depending on who the player was, and but I think just from what I saw, there were a lot of evacuations heading, call it east towards the Florida beaches, and then the other ones heading due west, either to Houston, Dallas, that area. So we've kind of been on a tight schedule. Players are in meetings right now, and the stadium is wide open here for the next 3 days. There was a game last night or yesterday where Dallas played Jacksonville. But just from a logistics standpoint, it should work out pretty well.
Hey, Sean, from a evaluation standpoint, were you guys able to, I guess, pretty much stay on schedule, or did the cancellation harm you much?
No, look, you're disappointed because I think for a handful of players, it was an important part of the evaluation process. I mean, there were still, you would see those games and someone says, this is important because a handful of positions are still up in the air. That truly is the case. And so we've got to find our best way in a short period of time. And obviously we can't get that game back, but it's one less game or opportunity where you have to evaluate players.
Sean, how much has organizations experience with these kind of situations? Mickey, some of your other executives in dealing with these kind of crises, how much has that paid off for you all, at least in this
Yeah,
period?
look, I think anytime you have experience in something like that, it's helpful. I think we've been through this. I've had a chance with Mickey to go through this a number of times, and it's something we're comfortable with. You kind of know what you need from a on-the-ground standpoint wherever you go relative to your video, your meeting rooms, your field, your hotel, that kind of thing. You obviously learn through experience. And so, yeah, I mean, we turn around and look at it right away, and it's not you look at it more from a challenge standpoint. Hey, all right, here we go. We know what we need. This is what we're looking for, what's available, and you start searching. Indianapolis has got a Guns N' Roses concert. All right, that's out. There's a number of places that work, and then it's just finding the right place, and then going through the logistics of the actual move and the relocation.
What are you going to do? A weight room,
as far as your game being played against Green Bay in the Superdome?
I didn't hear the whole question, and obviously we don't know relative to the starting game week 1 in the Superdome. We'll keep you posted when we hear. But we haven't heard anything relative to the opening game. Obviously we'll have a plan B. There are a lot of other things probably from a priority standpoint that are more important for our city. But that all being said, we fully anticipate starting the regular season with Green Bay, and then the question would be where that game's at. So I don't see it being in Green Bay.
On an emotional level, what's it been like interacting with your players and their families with so much uncertainty?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I think, look, I think you see everyone periodically at the lunches or the breakfasts or the dinners. It's a big hotel. Guys are spread out. Families are spread out. And, I think there's a little sense of relief relative to, being removed from, the dangers of something like that. I think that's something that I'm sure was a comfort to not only just the players but their families as well. I'm going to say probably we had, our normal football setup, which would be who we would take to away games, college football operations, Tier 1, Tier 2. We had an additional 120 people that represented family members. And so, I think, look, I think it was organized. It was well thought out. We got here, and, we kind of go from here.
Hey, Sean, sorry, I couldn't hear the end of your last statement. You said you don't see the game being played in Green Bay?
No, I don't see that happening. No. Look, I'm saying to you, we haven't heard relative to the thoughts and plans. Obviously, our ownership, Mrs. Benson, Mickey, myself, will be looking closely at our status relative to New Orleans, and then clearly we'll have a backup plan ready.
Okay, great. I just wanted to clarify. But I was wondering who ultimately made the decision to go to Dallas. and how long you guys had to coordinate that?
Mickey and I. Yeah, Mickey and I.
Okay.
But look, we're sitting there. You guys asked me about the storm at, I don't know, at the end of one of the practices. I hadn't heard of it yet. I came upstairs. We started looking at it. All right. And then by the next day, here we go. Wheels were in place, and we started discussing various cities. We had to get through that first night to get a greater idea as to the direction of the storm. And then, it started with, here are some options. And then eventually, all right, here's where we're going. Let's go.
So your first inkling of the hurricane coming towards, or a tropical storm at that point coming towards New Orleans, was what, Thursday?
Yeah, I don't know. What time did you guys ask me? What practice was that where you guys asked me? Huh?
And it wasn't even a tropical storm at that point. It was a tropical.
What practice was that?
Thursday, I think.
Yeah, so Thursday after practice, one of you guys asked me the question, and I really hadn't heard of anything at that point when the question was asked. And then obviously when I came inside, I then asked the same question. Hey, what's going on? And so that Thursday PM, Mickey and I started looking at, all right, here's the deal. We've got to reassess this in the morning. We're going to know a lot more Friday morning. In the meantime, that Thursday evening, we began to look at options. So pretty quickly, because Friday we're meeting with the players, and then some point Friday we're telling them, hey, here's the plan. The game has been canceled. That happened middle of the day Friday, and by the time we got to the hotel downtown, we all knew the plan for Saturday.
John, how do you set up a football operation remotely like this? I mean, weight rooms and training.
Yeah,
and all
I think
this
it's.
stuff.
Listen, we've done it, and there's something about the challenge that I think, I don't know, I kind of like. I look, I don't like being misplaced, and I don't like when players are away from their homes or any of those things, but you focus on the things you can control. Just in a short period of time here, there's a weight room in the hotel. It's modest at best, and yet we have opportunity at SMU if we want the Olympic lifts. We've got a fantastic, stadium that, we'll practice in the next 3 days. That's going to be indoor. We're going to obviously be in a controlled environment there. Meeting room space here. We get the whole ballroom set up at the hotel we're at with more than enough space and meeting rooms. A few of these ballrooms we could play a game in if we needed to. So look, once you've done this a few times, there are some, like, everyone kind of knows what we expect in the training room area. This is what we're used to. This is what we expect for the meals. This is what we expect and everyone goes about doing their jobs. And then, you do get, I think you get a little bit more focused when something like this happens as opposed to less. You guys still on?
I think we may have exhausted the question.
No, I was worried that I went on one of these long answers and I'd lost service. And anyway,
well, Sean, it's hard to believe. Go ahead, Jeff. Yeah, I was just going to ask. I mean, if you've been able to check on your house, your personal property, I know that's the first thing on everybody's mind.
Yeah, I haven't, and I really haven't thought about it. I know the generator's going, but I don't. I haven't looked at it. I mean, how do I look at it? I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
Okay.
I mean, look, I know that whole area is without power. So, look, I'm sure there's going to be, there's going to be roof damage to a bunch of places. The garage, I'm sure there's going to be a mess, when you go home, but that'll all kind of take care of itself, I think.
You probably had a similar reaction to the rest of us when we heard the news about the entire transmission tower falling into the river.
That's kind of unbelievable, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. The whole city is out of power.
Yeah. You never want to hear the main transition tower fell, and then you certainly don't want to hear that it fell into a river. But hopefully they can get things up and running. All right, we'll keep you guys updated, and I know a handful of you will be at practice. We'll see you guys there, and yeah, I think I honestly think in the next 3 days we're going to have a better feel for what our next plan is. Our next step, and we're pretty sure it's not going to be returning to Metairie anytime soon to start practices, at least in the next week. So as soon as we know something, we'll communicate that to you guys, and we'll kind of go from there.
Hey, real quick, so just to clarify, you don't anticipate that you guys will be going back to Metairie within the next week to practice?
I don't think so. I think that would be unrealistic. And so I think what's more realistic is once this roster gets reduced, I kind of see these guys Wednesday taking some time away. A lot of these guys will head back to where they're from originally, maybe. And then me on Wednesday telling them, hey, I'll see you guys Sunday night, and here's where we're going to be. And we're going to start practicing on Monday. We just got to fill in that last blank. But I don't see that realistically being in New Orleans.
How do you handle that and the odd situation of having to make roster cuts when you had to take the players with you?
I don't like it. I think it's one of the things. I brought it up in the team meeting this morning. I talked about, I'm proud how we've handled this. It's great that you guys are here with your families. There's a number of positives that we can take from this, that we were able to get, safely out of harm's way. And I love seeing, there's certain players you see, and all of a sudden, you meet their wife or their children you normally maybe wouldn't have otherwise. A lot of new players on this team. But I don't like the environment relative to within the next 24 hours reducing the roster with all the families here. I think that's challenging. I brought it up this morning, and we talked about it as a team, and I just said, hey, we just got to understand that there's a lot of good about us being here, but there are challenges when it comes to jobs that are on the line, and we're going to do our best to take care of everyone.